Wow, this house is cute. But can I really get in the game in this economy? I do have savings, and I am responsible-ish. Ugh, I should bury it. I'm being wild. But what if I'm not being wild, though? Could I actually score a...
Kick off your home buying journey with Zillow's new BuyAbility tool. It makes it easy to find out what you can afford, so you can get off the bench and onto the playing field with confidence. Check your BuyAbility, only on Zillow.
More rewards, more savings. With American Express Business Gold, earn up to $395 back in annual statement credits on eligible purchases at select shipping, food delivery, and retail subscription merchants. Enjoy the benefits of membership with the Amex Business Gold Card. Terms apply. Learn more at americanexpress.com/business-gold. Amex Business Gold Card. Built for business by American Express.
Here's what I say about Sexy Red and Glorilla, which is why I initially called them trash. Not a joke, I honest to God thought they were spoofs. I thought Glorilla, especially when I saw the pregnant girl in the video for FNF, I thought it was a spoof. I thought Sexy Red was a spoof. And I'm not joking. I didn't even take them serious. I was like, oh, somebody making a joke, a video joke real quick. I didn't know they were seriously artists.
Yeah.
What up? It's Three Brothers No Sense, your favorite barbershop style podcast. I'm Tavares Ferguson, aka Ferg, everybody's favorite bad guy. Join my co-hosts Buff and Razi. Fellas, you know what to do.
What up? What's going on? Inspire You on Air, Contentville family. Those of you that have subscribed to us on any podcast platform, thank you guys for listening to us. We appreciate you. So welcome to another episode. Just a couple of things I want to get off my chest. First and foremost, I've been saying for almost months now how 45 has been positioning himself to have everything in place for him to avoid what he went through in 2020. Well, I guess you could say January 6, 2021. And just have as many people in place that will side with him this time, from selecting electors in different states, secretary of states, like the one in Georgia. He tried to pressure to find him enough votes to overturn the outcome in that state.
Is that illegal?
He's finding. Is that illegal for?
Okay,
yes.
just making sure.
Very much so.
Sure.
Very much so. So he's setting it up, and even in the RNC now, he has an ally that's the new chairman of the Republican National Committee, and his daughter-in-law that's the co-chair. So he has he really is playing the long game. Ever since he left office, to me, he has been playing the long game. Everybody who spoke out against him, if you look at some of the speeches on the floor of the House and Senate, January 6, 2021, that night, you see one tone from members and you see a completely different tone. Now he's got everybody in line and he's playing the long game. So that's just something to watch out for. Even if he loses again this year, that is going to be interesting to see how that plays out, given what he just said at his most recent rally. The majority leader of the Senate, Senator Schumer.
What did he just say, Buff?
He doubled down on the whole
firestorm.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, he doubled down on rhetoric that we've heard him say before, and he left no doubt what he meant. I think in the past, defenders would be like, "Oh no, that's not what he meant. This is." Nah, he pretty much told you what it is this time. The majority leader of the Senate, I know Wu loved these type of segments. He said he doesn't really follow politics. Trying to break it down for you easily, brother. The majority leader of the Senate, Chuck Schumer, who is Jewish, has criticized the prime minister of Israel, Netanyahu, and pretty much has asked for him to resign and step down because of, yes, Israel was attacked on October 7th, 2023, but their response has been considered by many in the world to be unreasonable, as they have killed over 30,000 Gazans and Palestinians. They've killed over 30,000. Yes, they suffered a horrific terrorist attack on October 7th, but the response has been unacceptable to many in the world. And for the majority leader of the Senate, I know people are saying he shouldn't be meddling in other countries' elections, like America doesn't have a history of meddling in other people's elections.
Neither here there, Buff. Neither here there.
All of a sudden, it's a problem. But I just thought it was interesting. I didn't think he would do that. And last but not least, man, sticking with Congress. This is all politics. Woo. Congressman Ken Buck of Colorado has announced that he is going to step down coming after this Friday coming up. That makes an already slim majority in the House of Republicans even more slim until they have their special election in June. It also puts current Congresswoman Lauren Boebert in a tough situation because she barely won her reelection. And so she actually, instead of facing a rematch because the Democrat that ran against her had already said he's going to run again, she didn't want a rematch. Well, reportedly, she doesn't want a rematch with him. She's going to move to Ken Buck's district and run. But her plan was to run in November. With him stepping down and having this a special election, she had a decision to make. Does she run for the special election now and give herself an advantage of already being the congresswoman of that district? But she would have had to resign from her District 3 seat that she currently holds.
Gotcha.
Or does she wait till November and give herself a disadvantage to the winner that wins in June? So she decided to wait. She's going to roll the dice and wait and run in November. But it's interesting because she could possibly lose and be out of Congress altogether. So Buck had enough of what's going on in the House. He's especially fed up with the impeachment procedures of the president. He doesn't agree with them. He thinks it's stupid and baseless. And so he's had enough, man. And while I'm sure people will commend him for that, I just kind of hate that a lot of people in Congress that, I guess you can say the adults that are not going along with some of the stuff we agree with, they're leaving. You look at Bob Corker in Tennessee that left the Senate a couple of years ago. Mitt Romney's leaving. Like, people who are fed up, they see it as they can't win, so they might as well leave. So while on one hand it is admirable to see that there are still people, even if you disagree with them politically, there's still people that are willing to say, okay, enough is enough. I can't rock with this. But they're leaving, and it's making room for more people that agree with the 45s and the extreme wings of the party. That was a lot, man. So, but that's all I got.
But what are they supposed to do, Buff?
That's a great question, man.
I mean,
that's a great question because you could say they should stay and fight. Okay, but they'll probably lose, and they become more and more of the minority in their party to where they get drowned out. It's easy for me to say stay and fight. I can't say I'm mad about what Buck and other people are doing. I get it. Because I'm not sure staying and fight would change anything. Like, this tide that's coming with the way politics are changing, it seems like we almost just have to wait for sanity to come back. We'll hope that sanity comes back.
Yeah, so...
yeah, that's what I was going to say. Is it going to come back? I don't know if it is. So maybe if we ban TikTok, it'll come back, right? TikTok is the problem.
We've seen it in waves, right? We've seen when Obama got elected, we saw the Tea Party. And that was extreme to us at a time. And then we saw the Freedom Caucus. And that seemed extreme at a time. We saw, I don't want to just point out the right. We saw what some considered on the left extreme, what was the anti-Wall Street movement, was the 99% or whatever like that. We saw that came and went. So maybe we're just at the peak of this wave and it'll eventually
My theory is, and America is different, of course, but all great civilizations fall. And this looks so much like every dystopian movie freaking.
They fall from within too, right, Ferg?
Yes,
that's what. What's the villain name on Winter Soldier? Nemo. Not Nemo.
Zemo.
Zemo. My bad. Nemo is the fish. Zemo. Yeah, he's like, an enemy can rise again, if it's crushed, but if it falls from within, it's dead forever.
And that's my fear. It looks like every dystopian book, movie that we've ever had. I mean, I feel like we're 20 years from the Hunger Games. It just seems like there's I
don't know if I'd go that far, but I do think we are giving up the American exceptionalism of it all, right? We talk about, what was that, the show where the guy, the newsroom, where he was just like, tell me one thing that we're number one at other than incarceration. It's like, we can say we're number one, we're the greatest nation in the world, but we're slowly giving up even the moral high ground. Like the United States, one thing that the United States always had was that moral high ground. It's like, we're the one that's there to help. We really are. It's not us going out and trying to colonize other countries and that type of thing. And even when we were trying to expand democracy, we still semi had the moral high ground there. We're starting to give that up too. Like, we're starting to become xenophobic. We are starting to become this nationalist type of country where it's America first and no, screw everybody else, and it doesn't matter about what happens in the world and all of that. Like, retreating in on ourselves and giving up that kind of authority in the world is one of the things that we definitely are doing, and that's the part that scares me. We're not going to be the America that we were.
So when America was great. I think we've always been, we are who we are, and it was just chickens come home to roost. It's starting to show, and other countries and other people, as they get closer to us, they're starting to see the chinks in the armor, and as our diversity becomes more open and people have voices, 20 years ago, we couldn't have this podcast. We couldn't have ways to express our differences. It was easy to mask things because I was around the people that thought like me. Like, I wasn't in 2000.
It was easy. The internet made it hard. The internet made it hard to hide the domestic violence that's in our house. Yeah. Right. Like, it's much easier back in the day to put on, and when we leave the house, put some makeup on, and we look like the great couple, right? And you don't know what's going on inside, and we were able to control the narrative. Now we don't get to control the narrative.
Yeah, I mean, not even just control the narrative, well, to the outside world, but I'm just saying the conversations we were having were very monolithic. It was generally, we were around people that look like us. And so you were having a conversation with people who were probably that look like you, similar income brackets, similar backgrounds and stuff like that. So seeing all the things that's going on, people still weren't watching the news back in the day. But now when you get an alert on CNN or Fox News or C-SPAN or whatever, and then you get on Facebook or IG, like, you see all these posts and all these differences of opinions, now you're exposed to more. This shit's always been out there. Like, America, the fact that we have politicians that says America was never racist, we want to hide behind it. It's like, it's turn on the news, go on Facebook, go see a random post made that's supposed to uplift, and you're gonna have somebody that's gonna say something negative. Any post that goes viral, no matter how positive it is, there's always negative pushback. Pushback. See, and that's what's wrong with America today and the blacks and how do we get here? We're talking about oatmeal. Like, it's just, so let's keep the party going. It's on you, Razi.
Yeah, it's on me. So just along these lines, I wasn't going to talk about it, but I'm reading a book right now called Black AF History, the Un-Whitewashed Story of America. And it's by Michael Harriot.
Michael Harriot, yeah. He's a good follower on Twitter, by the way.
X.
Okay, all right, yeah. So his book is actually really dope. So again, if you want something that kind of gives you that black lens on history. It's and not just black. It's kind of a un-whitewashed history, just like the title says. He goes all the way back to Christopher Columbus coming to America and tells like the real story of how we kind of stumbled upon this thing. It wasn't this like, oh, here's how we're going to create America, yada, yada, yada. It's just like he talks about it as an accident sometimes, those types of things. So really, really cool book. So I definitely recommend you guys go check that out. With that, man, only real thing that I had this week coming up is going to be a great week for the 90s nostalgia, folks. So we have two big things coming out this week. One is X-Men 97. So all the cartoon folks out there, all the folks loving X-Men, that's dropping this week. And also the Freaknik documentary is coming out this week. So make sure you watch that. And if your mama was anywhere near Atlanta in the 90s, you might want to have a conversation with her before it comes out. Mama, are you on this thing? So, but it looks really, really dope, man. I'm super excited to watch the documentary on that. And just some current events for everybody out there. Power Book 2, Ghost, has been canceled. So I am one of those folks that have never watched an episode of Power, so I have no idea what's going on and why that's a big deal. But my heart goes out to the folks that really do like the show. And, they're like super sad because it got canceled. But okay, cool. But that's all I got, man. I didn't have a whole lot. And I did have something that I was thinking about doing a question of. But I'll just ask you guys real quick because I don't know if it's going to be a full-blown conversation. If it is, then we can kind of get back into it. But Nelly said that his area of rap was tougher. And I just wanted to ask if you guys agree with that or not.
Tougher than...
Like
compared
today.
To what?
Like it was compared to today. He was just saying it was tougher to make it
that can be a
and
question.
Be successful in his era of rap.
Yeah, let that be a question.
Okay,
I got
all right.
more than one thing to say on that.
You got a lot of thoughts on that? Okay, all right, cool. So that's all I got there, man.
I'm going to follow up a couple of things you said. You mentioned the book you're reading. Can you give the title again, Razi, for our listeners?
Yeah. Black AF History, the Un-Whitewashed Story of America.
I love the thought of that book, and I'll probably pick it up. What it makes me think of, and I spoke on this, I think, last week, is starting to try to look at American history through other people's lens, just not the black lens, and of course the white lens that we've always been taught. In the show I'm currently watching, one of the shows I'm watching, The Warrior on Netflix, I think really does a really good job on that. Once again, it kind of talks about the Great Migration of a lot of Chinese immigrants to the U.S. and the challenges they faced as with labor laws and labor unions, white labor unions just being mad, the industrialists utilizing them and underpaying them, but, and how Chinatown in San Francisco really developed and evolved and really became like a mini, Chinatown, right? Essentially. And it also made me think about like how a lot of times we don't have that. They come, they bring their culture and they're able to keep that culture, right? Like it's, we're Americanizing, but we're still the Chinese. They had their tongs and stuff like that. And for one, they were free. So there's that's one of the things that makes it a lot easier to develop a culture and, your own part of town. But also one of their main antagonist groups are the Irish. And just thinking about, movies I watched where when the Irish settlers got here and they had to fight, traditionalist Americans and natives and all this stuff, and how they made it to the West and stuff like that. And now they got beef with the Chinese. And it just makes me think all these groups we have, and, the president said it in State of the Union, we're all immigrants. Like we're all, none of us are native to this land except for the native, Americans. And yet we forget that. And learning other people's stories and appreciating people's stories in good, bad, or indifferent. So that's one. Two, Freaknik. Were you guys planning on going to the Freaknik when y'all were younger? Was that like a goal?
Yes.
Of course.
Freaknik or the Foot Wash.
Yes.
I wanted to go to the Foot Wash or Freaknik, and I don't know what happened to our mid to late 90s adults, where y'all spoiled it for the earlier 90 guys. Like All we need is y'all to hold on for 5 more years. Everything died.
Gen X. Blame it on Gen X again.
Y'all did not leave room for us. Y'all set up these great things, and then all of a sudden you just selfish. So for all my Gen Xers that cancel Mardi Gras, cancel Freaknik and Foot Wash and all those type things where all the good 90s debauchery was going on, shame on you. Shame.
I don't think they would survive today with social media anyway.
No, I didn't.
Some of the stuff.
I'm selfish. I'm talking about. I needed to go to like 2001 because the last Freaknik was like 98, something like that, 97, 98. I need another 3-4 years.
Yep.
Just need another free. No camera phones, none of that stuff. Just, we were still doing disposable cameras back then. Everything was good. That's 2. You mentioned X-Men 97. I've been binge watching Lightweight, the X-Men on Disney Plus, which Disney Plus is charging. I'm pretty pissed off at Disney Plus right now because they have 2 different subscriptions. You're paying to still watch commercials, or you pay a little extra and no commercials. I'm cheap, so I'm paying to watch commercials, and I'm not liking. I'm not happy, Disney Plus. I'm not happy, so we're beefing with you.
Yeah.
Just so you know. 3 bro.
They're trying to combine Hulu. Have you seen?
I don't care about it. I don't care about
Hulu
that. I'm
over
just
there
saying.
Too, so now you can watch Hulu on it.
I don't want to pay to watch commercials. That's just it.
Yeah.
But I don't know if you went back and watched any of the X-Men episodes. I'm hoping X-Men 97 is pretty good because it doesn't hold up well.
Yeah.
It doesn't hold up well. I mean, the later seasons may be a little better. I'm watching, I think I'm on season 4 now, but later seasons, not as much. And I've also kind of been going back watching Justice League Unlimited, and those shows hold up so much better than. So hopefully.
Yeah, DC does way better with this stuff. If you want a Marvel show that was actually really good, I think it was Avengers Assembled.
That was pretty good.
Was really good. It was a Marvel cartoon that came a little after. So that one was really good. Yeah. But Justice League and Justice League Unlimited is top tier, man.
Yeah, I take Young Justice over all of them. So go back if you want to get a chance. Go watch it. I'm excited about X-Men 97. Surprised we didn't talk about Miss Fanny. And
yeah, man. I figured both was gonna bring it up, but yeah, she the ruling came out. And she is able to stay on. The judge basically gave her a decision. He said, one of y'all got to go. It's either you or Wade have to go. And so, of course, Wade's out. So she can still try the case. And the DA's office still can try the case. So that's a good thing. But I think she took a big knock for her credibility, hiding everything. Like, I think it's going to be hard for them to get a good jury pool that doesn't know what's going on now, that, or generally hasn't made up their mind already, and that type of thing. And they're going to be able to kind of take some of her credibility, at least to task, while they're defending themselves. So, I mean, the defense did what they were supposed to do. They were smart about it. I don't think they thought that she was going to get thrown out, but they were able to bring up a lot of stuff that helps their case.
What's so crazy is, in one of her early testimonies, she says, "I'm not the one on trial here." Like, we're talking about her credibility versus a man who was impeached. Like, it's Trump's trial. They're talking more about her than Trump.
Yeah, right now, because that was the part they were talking about.
None of what the defense proposed made any sense whatsoever. None of it. Their charge is she appointed somebody that's not qualified to handle this type of case. So you're saying you want somebody more qualified to try your candidate? Is that what you're saying? You want somebody more qualified? That makes no sense whatsoever. That it was a financial benefit. She's appointed like 3 or 4 other prosecutors to different cases and stuff. They all have been paid the exact same amount of money. It's not like Wade was getting paid more than anybody else she's ever appointed. So you can't say that. You could say, well, for financial benefit, she's trying to string it along. She's been trying to rush the case. They're the one that's been stringing it along, asking for delays and delays. None of what they propose makes any sense, but they are lucky to have a stupid ass country that picks their jury pool from those dumb motherfuckers. And they will, like you said, Razi, they will pay attention to, but she was her boyfriend that used to be on the case. So I don't think Trump did it. They're lucky,
Right.
they're lucky that they're in the dumb country.
American
man.
logic.
It makes no sense, man.
You know what's worse than ninja logic? American logic. It just like sometimes all I was gonna do was just shake my head, and it was a waste of time, you know, and just
which is what the defense wanted to do. That's why I say the defense did what they were supposed to do. Like like all the craziness that they brought up, it didn't make any sense. Worst case, you could blame the judge. The judge should have been like, "That's stupid." No, right? Like, no, we're not doing that. But they had to. What was it? A month and a half, 2 months to
and to his
just
credit,
talk
a
about
lot
this
of things
piece.
a lot of things that they brought up, he did
dismiss a lot of stuff.
Yeah, he was like, no, we're not doing that.
Yeah. But
right.
And she wasn't having it though. That's the whole thing. She just, because I feel like she's like anybody who knows when they have right on their side and they're being questioned and tried. She just seems annoyed and seriously irritated by the fact that she's essentially went on trial.
I love that they try to bring up race too. Like y'all realize her first big case was going after rappers, black rappers, but she has this vendetta against white men. Okay, all right, man.
And she let them know y'all picked the wrong one. Like she was
her testimony, man. It was funny.
You know, that's who you don't want to cross-examine, and it's kind of like, yeah. So this is what we have to do. Now, actually, what you said was, and how's that relevant? You know, I'm just like, get him. So that's pretty much all I got for now, fellas. Let's go ahead and jump into it. Do we have Sophie here?
We don't. But I think I got a good joke. I mean, we'll see. So what do you call two cows smoking weed playing poker?
Saturday presents, in the red corner, the undisputed, undefeated Weed Whacker Guy. Champion of hurling grass and pollen everywhere. And in the blue corner, the challenger, extra strength Saturday. Eye drops that work all day to prevent the release of histamines that cause itchy allergy eyes. And the winner by knockout is Saturday. Saturday, bring it on.
This episode is brought to you by State Farm. From your morning podcast to your afternoon playlist, State Farm knows you personalize your entire day, and that's why State Farm helps you personalize your insurance with the State Farm Personal Price Plan. It offers coverage options that help protect what you care about most at an affordable price just for you. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Prices vary by state. Options selected by customer. Availability and eligibility may vary.
A high stakes game. High stakes.
Okay, that's one of your better ones. That's one of your better ones. That's pretty good. One of your better ones.
Yep. That's pretty good right there. Yeah. Not bad, Razi.
Yeah, you know.
Yeah. All right, see, yeah. I'll take that.
Yeah, that's.
So do we want to just go ahead and jump in then
let's go into your
on
question.
the Nelly thing?
Let's do it.
All right. Well, that wasn't going to be my question. That's why I had another one, but we can hold off on my other one. That's fine.
Is your other one good too?
Anyway, maybe. Okay, time out. I'll ask it, and then we can kind of say. I was going to say we're going to talk about Saban NIL deals, and I just wanted to say, do you think NIL is making the college football better or worse? So
we can do both questions. I'll yield mine because I don't think either one will be too long.
Okay? All right, cool. So first question then, was Nelly said that his era of rap was tougher to kind of break out and be a star in than it is today, and wanted to get your guys' thoughts on that. Do you think it was harder in the 90s, early 2000s to kind of break out as an artist?
Yes.
All right, next question.
That is the correct answer. That is a correct answer.
Expound sound.
I think, we always talk about social media and things. I just think I don't want to call everybody an artist. I think today's people have more resources at their fingertips to break through. I mean, back in Nelly's day, you for the most part had to find you a studio, find you an engineer, find you someone that had some beats that you could purchase and bring all that together. Then, go around and sell your CD out the trunk or give it away, things like that. Go to radio stations, go to DJs, hope they play it, pay them to play it, hope the crowd reacts enough to where it continues to grow. Now you can do pretty much all of that from your home. You don't really need a studio for real or anything like that. You can record your music, upload it, and take off. Like I think I want to say Soulja Boy was like the first to really like just use the internet to become a star as far in rapping. And
yeah,
it's just much. There are probably a whole lot more people that are doing it, so you definitely got to stand out among those people. But almost anybody can be a rapper now. It's just like podcasting now. Just get you a laptop and a microphone, and you can record some stuff and put it out there. So definitely, Nelly, he's correct on that.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely correct. I mean, I think the only, I'm not gonna say the only difference. I think a huge difference is because so many people have access, the pool has gotten larger, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because everybody, I mean, you guys tried to make it, like you had to pay for studio time and all this stuff. Everybody couldn't do that, right? Everybody can do studio time. They couldn't get CDs or tapes printed and all this stuff. So you had a lot of people who just didn't even get a chance to step up. All they did was battle rap on, on a corner or whatever. Now all you need is a cell phone. And so I wonder how many new videos or new rappers release every day.
Mike said something about that. It's like over 100,000 new songs a day or something like that. It's something crazy on there.
So that's my thing is, how do you get picked up when you have 100,000 new songs being released even a week, right? How does a new rapper, how does Lil Evil make it? How does Lil Evil stand out? The thing about it is, if you have a following, you go viral. And the thing about people are searching for that though. People are searching for the newest and the latest and all that stuff. So you're in a bigger pool, but I think just the access to play is so much easier now.
And I wonder with that bigger pool, Ferg, I wonder has the percentage pretty much stayed the same? So like in Nelly's era, they didn't have the internet in the way that today's artists use it. So they had to do, the studio and stuff that I talked about. But we know, even when we were trying to rap, there were a lot of other people trying to do the same thing. Maybe not as many as today since it's much easier, but I'm just wondering it's the percent. So like 10% of everybody in the country was trying to be a rapper back when we were. Has it stayed 10%, but just like you say, the pool is bigger, but it's still about, you know what I mean?
And I mean, it can't be, because then it'll be so many, because there's so many people just uploading and stuff like that. When you talk about serious, I would change it to serious artists, right? Okay. We can jump on and make a track today. It would be horrible, but we can jump on, make a track today and upload it to the, YouTube or whatever in the next hour, right?
Yeah.
Does that mean we're serious?
Yeah, I would probably, I would think it's serious artists, like, even if it's being seen, being noticed, but get into the level of the premier artist, right? Like the artist out there. Like you think about the new female rappers out there. There's about 4 or 5 that you're like, okay, that's the female rappers that's out there right now, right? Like you know their name, household name type thing. So I'm not even talking about the up and comings and stuff like that. Maybe even not even just breaking through to be noticed as a artist. But is it tougher to just kind of be one of those breakout, all right, they got a hit, they got a second hit, right? Not a one hit wonder. Like you say, I went viral, my song went viral. And so, but I can't actually make it and become the superstar, right? I can't become a Nice Spice, a Cardi, or a that's the sad part about it is the new male artists, you think the female artist before the male artist right now. A lot of times, right? Like, so like, how do you become those folks? And I kind of agree with Nelly, mainly because you look at the breadth of artists, right? The different styles of artists that were back then. And it may have been just that the industry and producers was like, I'm looking for something different. I don't want the same person, right? I don't want a clone of DMX. I don't want a clone of somebody, right? Because you saw what would happen with that. You try to clone DMX, you get Ja Rule. Right, like it's like, oh, you got a gravelly voice. Let's put you on there, and you end up with, okay, they're good, but they're not great. And so I think now they don't even want somebody different. They want, oh, you rapping triplets, so let's go and we're gonna put you on, and it's all a clone, and it's just a media push to get money. It's a money grab now. It's like, oh, you can go viral, I'm going to put you out. And if you get a second song, I don't really care. Right. And that's what happened. You go viral on TikTok, your song goes viral on TikTok, you're good. And they don't really care about producing these artists. So I think we had that conversation about they don't develop artists anymore. I think that's why Nelly was like, it was harder because you had to go through that development program. They weren't just putting you out.
You can sit on the shelf.
A label years. Wasn't putting you out just because you get, yeah, exactly.
Also, you got older artists now that will do anything it takes to stay relevant. So we've always had whack rappers, relatively speaking, because I know that's not a universal opinion, but relatively speaking, we've always had whack rappers, the 80s, the 90s, 2000s. I don't want to pretend like our generation didn't, but you didn't see Jay-Z validating a Sexy Red like Drake has. You didn't see Tupac validating a Glorilla like Moneybagg Yo and Yo Gotti has. So like, maybe I shouldn't call that. That's cruel to call them whack, but I will say the Sexy Reds of the world were not validated. Yeah, they were not validated by your more.
Yeah, Glow. Yeah, Glow go hard. Yeah, Glow.
Yeah,
I be on it. I ain't gonna lie.
We expect that. We expect that out of you. We expect that. Ever since you said let me smack it or whatever that song was, smash and bang it. I've looked at you a little different, sir.
Let me smack it, girl.
yeah. See, I expect that out of you. But yeah, so Nelly has got to blame some of his contemporaries for this too, because they kind of helped them blow up even more than they should.
Yeah, and I think and the journey was different too. I mean, because universal access, like you said, Razi, they're carbon copies of each other. You can't tell if a rapper is from Detroit, from Houston, from Miami, from DC. Like they all, like, why are niggas mumble rapping in DC? Like that don't make no sense. Like it doesn't. It's so in the 90s to the early 2000s, you had to break through, like in your city, or your area kind of had a style, right? Like the South had a style, and so you had to make it in Mobile or New Orleans, and then make it in the South, and then make it. Like it's everybody. You could tell where a rap was from. The West Coast, that's why there was kind of beef, like the styles were different, and it was just like everybody was separate, and you had to fight for your piece of the pie and then try to go global, and then people were pushing back because they don't mess with that Midwest crap. Nelly got a lot of flack in the beginning because people just didn't. That wasn't that slow talking Southern. Like, what is this? What is Midwest rap? But now it doesn't matter. You don't know where anybody's from. like what's his name, Young Blue. Like people don't recognize him from Mobile because it doesn't.
Yeah.
The style doesn't say Southern rapper. It just says another rapper. And so people are way more accepting. You don't have to jump the hurdles, and you're not limited to a style, anything like that. You know, because if you're a dude from the South, and even Murder, when he first, my cousin, you know, he had a East Coast flow. And a lot of people from the South probably couldn't appreciate his flow because he sounded more East Coast. You know? And that's something you got to overcome. So, yeah, definitely harder in the 2000s. The biggest thing is you have more competition. I'm not going to say a bigger talent pool. You just have more people. You have to sift through more stuff. And the chances of just getting found are tougher.
But that lends to the argument that it's not harder, or it wasn't tougher back then, because like you said, there's just so much out there that it's hard to get noticed at all. I think you do have to stand out somehow, right? That's why I think a lot of folks are putting dances with their stuff so that they can go viral on TikTok, so that they can get the stream, so that then they can go and get on the radio and everything like that. So I think it's just a different game now. I don't think it's... So going back to... I backtrack a little bit. I don't know if it's tougher then than it is now. I think the game has just changed. You don't have to sell your CDs and get known in your city and then make it in there. I think what you have to do is you have to find a gimmick. You have to find something that's there. And the catchy songs, I won't say good songs, the catchy songs catch on, and boom, now you are catapulted to stardom. So I think you still have to break through.
I'll see what you said and raise you. Yes, it's harder to get noticed, but everybody can put themselves out there. In Nelly's time, you just because you wanted to do it, you may not have had the means to put yourself out there. Everybody can put themselves out there now. If you got a phone, you can put something together and upload it on YouTube. So yeah, it's harder to get noticed, but it's easier to put yourself out there because you don't have to worry about studio time, engineer, beats, and all that kind of stuff.
How many people would have put themselves out there in 98, 99, to early 2000s if they had the access to what we have now?
Oh, man. Do you know how many people? Yeah. Like, I got a coworker who said he went to New York for a few months, and he was like, yo, everybody raps up there. Everybody I met. Hey, son, you want to spit something? Why don't you spit something? Everybody, but they only had the means to sit on a stoop somewhere and do it and freestyle for an audience in the neighborhood. Like, now, those same people, they're uploading stuff. So they just didn't have the means.
I think if you look at so many things, I think people in general, take away from rap, just have more access to things now. You look at athletes today, you know, sports medicine and stuff like that is a real thing. You know, when we played football, ran track and stuff like that, you know, we had a pregame meal. We were told to stay away from women, don't drink and all this stuff. And that was our training, you know, like that was it. You know, you went to practice. Now they're grooming people to do things. It's just access. There's just more access to things as the world is more enamored with celebrities and success, and you know, just like with the AAU basketball and you know track, city track leagues and all this stuff. Everything's just different now.
It is. It's harder. Like our really good kids back in the day would be considered mediocre today.
Well, yeah,
like on the football field, on the track. Like now, granted, if
they had the same training,
those same kids, if they had the same training, right, they probably would be. But I'm just talking about the level of talent that we had growing up. Those really good kids probably wouldn't be considered really, really good with the level of talent they had then, like with how good they were then, because like you say, just the times have changed. Like these kids are getting younger and younger, running faster and faster, and because we understand the science behind it, and and again, back to access, right? You had to have money to be able to put your kid with a coach or a trainer or something like that. Now you can go to YouTube and have those same techniques, right? And you can teach your kid in the backyard, or they can watch that. And I just ordered Ollie a dribble up for his soccer so that he can actually get some soccer skills, right? That kids would have to pay a whole lot of money to. We don't have to pay for that now. Like he can go to YouTube, he can use it or whatever, pay $16 a month, and boom, Sophie and Ollie both can use it. So I think, and Dribble Up's awesome, by the way. If you guys don't have that for your kids, if you want to have a little bit of coaching and outside of what you do with your actual coaches, it's actually a good program. Plug for that. But I think it's just changed, man. It's we've got to get used to the level of talent that we have today, the level of in-rap wordplay and everything, the triplet and all of that. It's different.
Level of competition. I'm not gonna say talent. More competition. I don't think the talent levels increase. I mean, that's the word I'm choosing to use.
You don't think talent levels increase? It's more difficult. It's more difficult. Big Daddy Kane couldn't come in and rap today. Like some of the early pioneers of rap wouldn't be able to come in and rap today. They would get rapped under the table by somebody that's probably what we would consider mediocre.
You don't think he had the talent to adapt to? And then we're also talking about some of the trash that's going on today. You know, like would have never got any play on the radio in 1988. You know, like they didn't care about the beats. They didn't care about the hook. It was about the lyrics. And you got people who just could. Big Daddy Kane was still a storyteller, right? That's what was in at that time. He was a storyteller. He created a whole image. He was a freaking, he was a character. He told stories. These guys, I'm not trying to belittle their careers or talent, but back then, when you can't, what did he say? Making up skirt and like people just coming up with like people wouldn't like that. And so the talent and what people wanted, they were giving them what they wanted.
We can go down that route some other time. The talent.
You give me some bars. Give me the top bars of this of now.
I don't think your mass media stuff, right, is hidden like that. But there are folks out there. We talked about Benny the Butcher, 504, and we talk about folks like that actually have that wordplay. And we can't sleep on the Kendrick Lamars and the J. Coles that have double, triple, quadruple entendres in their rhymes. I mean, that level of lyricism, right, they weren't doing that back then. And that just is an evolution of the time. That's what happens as you kind of go through and you just get better. I mean, same thing we talk about sports and anything else. You're going to get better as generations come because you're building on what they already have. It's easier to do more when you have that baseline. I mean, when they were coming up, they were breaking through. They were creating new genres and flows and everything else, where now people can drop into what they created, and it's much easier for them. Can you understand Pythagoras before Pythagorean theorem? And actually, Pythagoras didn't actually create the Pythagorean theorem, but we ain't gonna go into that. That's some black AF history anyway on that. But before it became before they started understanding that mathematics, it was hard for everybody to understand how to be able to figure out those angles and all that stuff. But then once they found it and it became common knowledge, our third graders can do it now, right? You had to have advanced level science and mathematics teachings to be able to do that back in the day. But now you got second, third graders that are able to do it. So that's what I'm saying. It's just like they're able to do more because they have that base. But they are able to do more.
You mentioned Kendrick Lamar. When you mention Kendrick Lamar, whose generation are you putting him with? Because I consider him our generation.
I think he is, but he's still relevant today. I'm just saying, like today, that's why I talked about 5EO and them, right? Like Benny, like they're still, I guess, younger emerging rappers, like I don't really look at it from a time or a age. Look at it from a time they're breaking through, right, and becoming like big. And that's what I look at, is they are still dropping hits today.
Yeah, I guess I felt like we were saying today's artists versus artists of the past. I consider him an artist of the past that still makes relevant music, but he broke 12 years ago. So I feel like that's more back in the day than Sexy Red and Lil Baby.
So you want me to like bring up a lyricist of like this day and age, like that just came out?
So with Sexy Red, you just threw Big Daddy Kane out there, and then you want to give some of the best lyricists, maybe one of the best lyricists ever. He's like, oh, well, you know, he's doing doublets and triplets. Yeah, we're talking about.
That's us. That's our time, though.
We're talking about the anomalies. We're talking about K-Dot. We're talking, but we're talking about with a Sexy Red verse rock in 1987. You know what I'm saying? Like, she's trash.
Oh, I walk that back when I call her trash, Ferg. Do you want to walk that back, sir?
No.
You want to walk that back? No. Here's what I say. Here's what I say about Sexy Red and Glorilla, which is why I initially called them trash. Not a joke. I, honest to God, thought they were spoofs. I thought Glorilla, especially when I saw the pregnant girl in the video for FNF, I thought it was a spoof. I thought Sexy Red was a spoof. Like, and I'm not joking. Like, I didn't even take them serious. I was like, oh, somebody making a joke, a video joke real quick. I didn't know they were seriously artists.
Yeah.
So that's why I initially called them trash. Because I didn't hear Jay-Z and say, oh, that's a spoof. I didn't hear Lil Wayne or any Big Daddy Kane, even artists I don't even like. I didn't hear them and say, oh, that must be a spoof. I took them seriously. I just said, oh, I don't rock with that.
But they came through the machine, though.
I thought it was a joke.
They came through the machine. It's just different, like how they got discovered or whatever. I don't know, bro. I did think, what was it? Coochie Pink, Booty Hole Brown. Like I did think that was a spoof. I thought that was a spoof. I'm not gonna lie. But FNF was good.
Because I think I exited the video when she was like, come suck a toe. And I was like, oh, okay. All right. That's enough. Yeah. And I find out, no, she's for real. I'm like, oh, wow. Okay.
And was getting play. So, but.
And even with her, Nicki Minaj validated her by jumping on a remix.
Yeah.
Like, so our older artists are validating like, you got artists that are calling them trash or whatever, but then they're also, to hold on to relevancy, they're validating them.
And my last thing and you brought up a good point. Our older artists, it was hard to even be accepted by the community back in the day.
Yeah,
like you
get an endorsement was very, very difficult because the media, the machine was running it, and they were deciding who you were going to endorse. You weren't endorsing just some random
Hammer
person.
Wasn't accepted, right? Like Hammer, who was making hits, wasn't accepted because he didn't fit the mold. He didn't represent the cause. Hammer would have probably been in 2024, maybe not his, but him now would have been a hit just because we accept everything and everybody jumps on bandwagon. You know how many people would have probably jumped on tracks with Hammer in 2024? Just because he was the hottest thing out. Right.
Can't touch this. Yeah,
that he had to get Deion Sanders to do he pumps in a bump with him. Like that's people weren't jumping on other people's albums and stuff like that. Like if I don't rock with you, if what you're doing isn't respected by the community, screw the audience, then we don't rock with you. Your own community didn't rock with you. That's you got to think. That's why the South was in there. Dre and them was like, they were like, y'all don't respect the South, and these boys out here doing it. But because it was so hard to break in, even within the community. Let alone just novice artists that's going to jump on the next hot thing. But it is what it is. Let's go to the next one. Let's get a quick one out the way.
All right, cool. So next question that we decided we're going to use is Saban and NILs. So we're sounding like the folks, the old guys, get off my lawn stuff. But Nick Saban testified at Congress, and he folks kind of knew that NIL was one of the reasons why Saban went ahead and retired. But he testified, and he was just saying that kids are chasing the bag. That's the first thing that they want to talk about when they go talk to coaches now. It's not about schemes and how you're going to develop me and yada, yada, yada. But I've seen conflicting versions or opinions on this, but I want to ask you, brothers, do you think NIL is making college football better?
So the man whose profession is all about chasing the bag is criticizing kids for chasing the bag? Mm-hmm. Because Nick Saban, as I recall, in his contract with Alabama, had a clause that anytime a head coach anywhere got paid more than he did, he automatically got a raise.
Yep.
They paid for his mortgage. So the highest paid coach in college football, house was paid for by boosters and everything like that. But he's upset because some players are worried about how much they're going to get paid. Look, I get it. I think still for players who genuinely see a future for themselves, like Caleb Williams, a lot of these top draft picks, they know the money will come and they are going to seek a program or a coach that's going to develop them. But players that say, hey, college might be my last stop, man. I don't know. I might be a 7th-round pick at best. I don't blame them for trying to get the bag because colleges has been getting free labor from these players for years. So if they want to chase the bag, so the what? Okay, and I blame this on the NCAA because I think people have the illusion that players get paid now. No, players don't get paid. Players are allowed to get money for their likeness. College football still does not pay players. They're just allowed to say, hey, you want to use my likeness? Okay, for that, I want this in exchange. They wasn't allowed to do that in the past. So, yeah, is it a perfect system? No. But this all comes from the fact that the NCAA should have figured out a way to pay the players, and maybe they wouldn't have such this wild, wild west that they have now, because I can see it as being frustrating for coaches who feel like they have to come up with the highest bid for a player to come to their program. I understand that players now can change schools and not have to sit out a year like they used to. That can be very frustrating for coaches. But like we talked about in the last segment, it's all about evolution and adjusting, baby. So Nick Saban, I think you're the GOAT. But if you stepped out because of NIL and you felt like you couldn't adjust, so the what? Sorry. But this is how it is. And so until it changes, that's what it's going to be. I hear his criticism, but at the same time, I kind of don't care and I don't want to hear it.
So I agree with everything you said. I want the kids to get paid. It is the Wild Wild West, and it's going to get worse before it gets better. I think they're going to eventually do some caps and things like that, similar to teams now. Like when you can pay for the best team, when it was unfair where, you know, the Cowboys or the 49ers or whoever had the money could pay for the teams. And it made almost gets to the point where it's not fun to watch, you know, in college football. Because I remember one of my favorite things about college football, even though they've been cheating for years. We know they were paying people under the table. Let's call it what it is, you know, but there was a certain art to that as well. You knew that there was a purity to it, right? For like you said, a lot of these kids is their last chance. So they're putting it all on the table. They're doing everything they can. And now there's more money involved because of the contracts and stuff that people are making in the league. But I think if you put an NIL cap per school, because once again, the NCAA is not paying for it, but certain schools, certain areas have more boosters. Like Texas A&M, there's money. There is money. These West Coast teams, the Pac-12, or the whatever, they packed it up and moved. There's money in those schools, right? And so when you can go buy these players and you have teams and people who are really trying to still compete, where you might have 50, 60, 70 million dollars, and if that's what it takes to get the right players, we can do that. But you have a team like Auburn that the money's not there like that, right? Mm-hmm. And so the kids never get to truly compete versus saying, okay, there is a $10 million cap. That's a lot for a lot of schools. Some schools ain't be able to get that at all. Nowhere near that. But there's $10 million cap. Anything over 10 is going to cost you $5, there's going to be some salary cap rules. And so if you really want this player and you're going to pay him this, because it's still, you don't want to count anybody's pocket, but if an 18-year-old goes and makes $1.5 million for something that he could have made any money for 3 years ago, 4 years ago, 5 years ago, and still might leave, and they still gonna leave and go do another $2 million at Texas or UCLA. They're at A&M this year, then they leave and go to, because that's what's gonna happen. People are gonna chase mm-hmm. the bag. But I just think to make sure, because I feel like some teams and programs are gonna become obsolete, and you're gonna start seeing, I feel like these college football teams might be, I don't know if it's going to be the death sentence for some of these teams. Maybe I'm over exaggerating.
That leads to the question, right? Is the college football better because of NIL? I 100% agree with you on
the players
getting kids paid. The players are better off. Is college football better off based on that? And that, I think, is the question, because when you talk about a salary cap, right? There's a salary cap in the NFL, but there is no cap on endorsements, right? So that guy, right, the player that's that guy can go and get another $17 million, $20 million, $30 million in endorsements, right? And that's what NIL is. It's an endorsement. It's using my name, image, and likeness outside of the school and you pay me for that. So Deion said it. He was on an interview and he was like, it's the collectives that's the issue for him. Like he's kind of with us. I'm all about the kids getting paid. But back when you talked about when kids were getting paid under the table, right? The only people that were getting paid were the kids that were that guy. And what Deion is saying is kids are coming in today and they're acting like that guy when they're barely making the team, right? Like, it's like, I really don't care if you come or not. I want you, but I see the potential, the talent in you, but they're coming in having this conversation of how much am I going to get paid? And I think, to your point, Buff, it's like, you just got to be honest, right? That coaches need to adapt and be like, you probably are only going to get $12,000 a year, right? Like, your name, image, and likeness is only worth $12,000, buddy.
That's 12 more. That's 12 more than
the same thing we used to say, Kevin Samuels used to preach. You let the market decide. They can come in thinking they're the guy and deserve $50K a year all they want. Okay, go shop yourself around other schools and see what you can get. But if you come here, this is what you're going to get.
Right.
Let the market decide. Who can, so what if you're getting players that think they deserve X, Y, and Z? So
I agree with that. I just think to give all schools a chance. Because I just feel like there's going to be schools that, 10 years from now, schools might not even have a program because they can't get players. It's
they'll get players. I know I was just going to say the same thing. How much difference is it from today? You have your Power Fives schools that take all the top talent, and then the smaller schools don't. But what might even the playing field is that non-Power 5 school may be, I don't know, in Silicon Valley. And now you got a whole bunch of tech boosters that are starting to build into the collectives. You got a UAB that, we're not Alabama, but guess where all the doctors in the Southeast come from? UAB, baby, the best medical school in the Southeast, right? And so if they start bumping into that collective, UAB may end up becoming... some doctors do,
and that's something else. That's something else that we don't talk about. That the school, like these big schools in these states, like Alabama, I forgot who it was, but Alabama prevented UAB from getting a particular coach, I believe.
Yep.
Like they have that power within that state. Like I love you, Nick Saban, but you on this.
Oh, I agree. Anytime I can say Nick Saban, I'm with it.
This episode is brought to you by Chevy Silverado. When it's time for you to ditch the blacktop and head off-road, do it in a truck that says no to nothing. The Chevy Silverado Trail Boss. Get the rugged capability of its Z71 suspension and 2-inch factory lift. Plus, impressive torque and towing capacity thanks to an available Duramax 3-liter turbo diesel engine. Where other trucks call it quits, you'll just be getting started. Visit Chevy.com to learn more.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. When your computer breaks, you don't wait for it to magically start working again. You fix the problem. So why wait to hire the people your company desperately needs? Use Indeed's sponsored jobs to hire top talent fast. And even better, you only pay for results. There's no need to wait. Speed up your hiring with a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
I think we got our title for our episode. That's the title for our episode. Nick Saban, like.
And I'm with Byron. He is the GOAT. Like it is what it is. You got to call it what it is. But that dude's had a.
Anytime I can say.
He is the GOAT. I give him that. But anytime I get a chance to punch him in the gut, there it is.
Yeah.
But
ultimately, I will say I don't think NIL is making college football better, right? But I think it changes the game, and it's going to change a little bit of the landscape. And there may be schools that can't get. They used to be this great powerhouse school because they had a good coach that could go recruit, but now they can't get the money for some reason, and they lose a couple of recruits. The coach is just going to have to figure that out. And some schools may actually end up dropping off a little bit because of that, but I'm okay with that.
I don't know how you've seen a difference so far. I mean, the same teams have been fighting for a champion. Alabama was in the playoff again. Michigan was up there. Oregon was up there. Like the same school. I haven't seen a difference unless you're saying that down the line you see it playing.
I do. I see it playing out a little different. Like, folks aren't going to stay and get developed a lot. So we talk about that portal. I think that portal is probably the biggest part of it, where now, you didn't play me first year. I don't know if I'm going to be able to play next year. So I'm going to hit the portal. I'm going to go somewhere else. Right. So folks aren't going to stay and get developed. So you're going to see a little bit of teams having to adjust, and the quality of a team. You're not going to get the dynasties anymore, right? You're not going to have the Alabama that had a guy sitting on the for 2 years, right? That's been sitting on the bench that could just walk into the position. Go ahead.
This should have been the first question, because I see that, and I see it as creating more parity, because now you have a Bo Nix who felt like he wasn't going to get played. He goes to Oregon and plays well. So now you got these top players. Coaches are going to have to decide what type of talent they have. You can't just sit on all the talent. You can't have 3 top quarterbacks on your roster now, because they all want to play.
Yeah,
so now you only keep one, and the other 2 are going to say, hey, I'm going to go to it. So I think the opposite. I think it gives more teams an opportunity to have top players.
If you can pay them. Because
if you can pay them, but ultimately they want to play,
because they want to get to the league.
They want to play above all.
Because you just said, but some of these players aren't going to the league. So if you can keep Bo Nix,
those aren't top players.
If you can keep Bo Nix, if you can keep all these players on the, because Bo Nix, let's say Auburn had the money, maybe they never made it to Oregon because you're still paying him 1.5, and so he never gets a chance to develop, or you're paying him staying on the bench because hey, that's part of the strategy. Guess the easiest way to keep playing, not to have to play Bo Nix, is to keep him on your bench.
Because anybody with an ounce of sense is going to tell Bo Nix, you're not going to sacrifice 1.5 for a potential $30 million.
3 years ago, Bo Nix was not going to the league.
You have to play. You have to play.
He wasn't going to the league because he wasn't playing.
When he played for Auburn, no, he was playing. He just was trash for the system. You would have told me if you'd have told me.
So that's what I'm saying.
If you would have told me Bo Nix would be Bo Nix at Auburn would be the Bo Nix at Oregon.
That's true. Yeah.
No. Get rid of him. What are we doing with this guy? Like, it was, so it was a great move for him. It was. I just think you're going to pay some people. Your backup could probably start at 25 schools, but you got the money to keep him on the bench for, I'm going to get you 1.5 this year, but by your senior year, because you're sitting behind Buff, when he leaves, we're going to bump him up to 5. You can go to Cal State right now and make 2, but you ain't going to compete. You ain't going to play behind Buff, first round draft pick. People going to pay. You're going to see a lot of talent on the bench with schools that got money.
Yeah, but the 1.5 and 2 million, that is so rare. Like a lot of these
numbers out there.
Yeah,
throwing numbers out there.
I think overall they want to play, especially if they think they have a shot at making it. So the money is good though.
So what are we talking about the NIL then? Then what's the point of the NIL?
What do you mean?
If they just want to play, then they're going to go where they can play.
They want both.
Okay.
But if they think they have a shot at making the league, I would think playing like $50,000 making an NIL is not worth sacrifice you're playing if you think you can make it to the league and get $10 million.
Maybe I need to look at some of these NIL deals. I think I'm just looking at some of the big ones I'm seeing,
the huge
especially
ones.
with college.
Yeah. Like your top 30,
college
40,
basketball.
Past your top 30, 40, you're talking $30,000, $40,000, maybe $100,000. Like the top 30, those are the ones that are making the millions, right? I think Shador is like the number 1, and I think he's only making like 13. So only 13, but you know what I mean? Like that's your number 1 is making that. So no, everybody's not getting millions, right? I think, what was it, NCAA 2K or whatever, they were talking about paying everybody $600, right? Like everybody gets $600. So, but it's $600 and you're able to have be able to say, hey, I'm playing myself on a video game. Like I'll take the $600 so I can be on the video game.
Well, they will do that regardless. They would.
We're just talking about football, but like with Angel Reese and women's college basketball, she said going to the WNBA is going to be a pay cut for her.
And that's what I mean. So I was looking at, that's what I'm thinking about.
Yeah.
You got Angel Reese, you got,
but again, that's probably
because she make it even bigger endorsements,
right? Yeah, that's the thing is they're thinking base salary and not endorsements. They have to think your salary right now is zero, Angel Reese. Your salary, actual salary, their NIL deal is your endorsements. So if you get a good agent and you get into the WNBA, your endorsement should go up. So that's the part that I think these kids need to understand is NIL is not salary. So don't look at your NBA or your NFL salary or your WNBA salary from that. Like Angel Reese going into the league, I think is there.
You look at LeBron James. LeBron James, the NBA season is a pay cut for him. Like he has never made more money from an NBA check than he has from his endorsements. Yeah. Like before he even bounced the ball in the NBA, he already was signed to Nike. I think Bubblicious at the time. Like his NBA check has always been a pay cut for him.
So I want to look at this, and I'll be very interested to follow like Angel Reese. I don't know if WNBA is a step up for her. Just because,
I get what you mean.
There's this buzz behind women's basketball right now. And I think it might continue for several years now. Who's going to be, they got this young chick, was it, what's she out of South Carolina?
Oh yeah, I know you're talking about
that whole team. The whole team is good.
Yeah, what's her name? Fanjay.
Yeah. So they got a lot of, and so that's where the talent's going. I think once you get to, and you're interested in seeing the young talent develop. I don't think that many people are going to, once Angel Reese goes off to the WNBA, is going to like, now let me turn this WNBA. It's like this is a very small pool of the people I should be watching. They're young, they're energetic. She gets to dominate. I would be very surprised if her career, she's ever as popular in the WNBA as she is right now in college basketball.
Well, let's see what her and Caitlin Clark do, because that could be a nice little rivalry in the WNBA.
It's your Larry Bird.
Dominate.
It's that. It's the MJ. It's your Magic versus Bird type thing. It's that, man. I think it's because let's not act like the NBA wasn't on its last leg for a couple times and it was about to go bankrupt and all of that until LA came out and kind of made it fancy again and made it like everybody wanted to watch it. So I think that's what's happening. And that's what the WNBA needed. It needed that superpower that superstardom of that where people are watching the folks go into the league and going to follow them. So, that the same way y'all always ask how I became a Green Bay fan. It was like Brett Favre, right? Like I watched Brett Favre and so I wanted to see him in the league and I was like, okay, boom, that's where he's at. So I think it's that. So anyway, we're getting long in the tooth with the show, man. So, but good questions, man. Or good conversation. I don't want to pat myself on the back with good questions.
No, it was. I enjoyed this.
All right. Just sum it all up. Screw Nick Saban.
That's why I said that should have been the first question, to be honest. Screw Nick Saban.
All right, let's go ahead and close it on out, fellas.
Let's see where I want to start. So we learned this week, or maybe we've always known, that Elon Musk is very thin-skinned. This is a guy who, said that he wanted to buy Twitter because they were suppressing free speech and things like that. And he's all for free speech and everything should be allowed to be said unless it's about him.
Yep, because Don Lemon.
I mean, he did an interview with Don Lemon and boom, right at the interview, he said, nah, we're going to cancel that show. We don't want you. And he's also canceled the account, I think it was called Elon's Jet, that pretty much just told you everywhere he was at the time. Public information, by the way, they just were posting it. He felt like it was a threat to his security and safety or whatever like that. And he's canceled several other accounts that did not align with his beliefs. And so it just reminds me of people who, have these strong opinions and they lead with it in every conversation. They're usually the ones that are guilty of what they claim they're fighting against. Kind of like Ted Haggard, who was against, gays and gay marriage. And you find out he likes to fondle little boys, or
Caitlyn Jenner.
Or rappers who, love rapping about don't snitch. As soon as they get in trouble, they kind of snitch a little bit. So that was just interesting to see. The other thing I want to say, man, I keep telling you guys, I read the newspaper now, and I read an article on where it actually was, detailing the case of a New Orleans police officer who was 53 years old at the time, wound up sexually abusing a 14-year-old. What happens was she was sexually abused by a 17-year-old. The mom called NOPD. Someone showed up. They didn't really do anything about it. So they had to call back again upon the little girl's therapist and say, hey, we need to call the police again. Something needs to be done. An officer that's not even trained to deal with this type of thing showed up. 53-year-old Officer Rodney Vignair. He wound up developing a relationship with her using his position to build trust, and started telling her stuff like, you could text me anytime. We can go for ice cream at McDonald's, and just texting her at inappropriate times at night, midnight, things like that. The mother finally found out once she saw a picture of him hugging her in, like, I want to say it may have been her underwear, just like some very revealing clothing. Had her hug where he was pressing his midsection against her backside. He wound up getting arrested and things like that. I said all that to say he never should have been hired in the first place. But New Orleans PD, they faced a shortage after Hurricane Katrina. They lost a lot of officers. This man had been arrested several times, convicted of battery on a juvenile. His own sister said if they would have asked her, she would have told them, not with his temper. He's pulled a gun out on his ex-girlfriend before. Never should have been on the police department. And as we talk about how police departments around this nation are facing shortages, I want us as citizens to all be mindful of these departments lowering their standards to get their numbers back up to hire police officers. We entrust them with a lot of things, with taking our freedom and being fair and things like that as they patrol the different municipalities. So I just want us to be mindful of that. And if you're able to have a voice in these different city council meetings locally, make sure you express that. Do not lower your standards to hire police officers. Keep those standards in place, because that's what NOPD did. And they hired people like him and several others that they've had to let go. And it's not limited to New Orleans. It's happened all across this nation. So
I'm gonna just comment on that, because when you say that, it always makes me think of when I first joined the Army and I went to basic training and I got back, AIT, and I went back to my unit. And, most people have so much blind faith in military personnel. Yeah. It's just, you give them.
Great point.
And when I was there, and Razi probably can attest to this, I'm like, how in the hell? Like
to your point, Ferg, the mom saw a lot of questionable things, but her grandfather was a police officer. So she grew up just pretty much blindly trusting police officers, and she instilled that in her daughter as well. So some of the times when he would text, when he had no business texting her, it was kind of like, oh, he's just being a good officer following up on a victim, when the red flags were there because of that trust you just mentioned.
I mean, it was very eye-opening. I mean, we're in basic and I'm talking to people, I'm hearing their story, and I'm like, dude, you shouldn't be in the Army, you should be in jail. Or you shouldn't be, like, I'm scared that you're going to have somebody's back in a foxhole. Like, you don't make sound decisions. You're not your character, you don't have good character. Like, and it's just, and I'm not saying anything against our, probably the most conservative thing you'll hear me say is support our troops, but support our troops. I mean, it does take a lot, and it does take a special person to put their life on the line for whatever reason. We went to go see Kung Fu Panda 4, and one of the things was, doing the right things for the wrong reasons. They're doing the right things for the wrong reasons, possibly, but, and I don't want to knock them, I just want you to be aware that the uniform does not make you a better person. There are messed up people in every facet of the world. Military, the police force, politicians, judges. Like, you have to recognize that there's some people who just make bad decisions, and you can't continue to let them hide behind their uniform or their position. And sorry.
If you want to follow that case, the civil trial was delayed. It's supposed to begin as this episode drops tomorrow on Monday. And that officer recently died, I think, from a heart attack. He died on New Year's Day of this year. But they're suing the city. The city is saying, hey, we had no idea that he was, doing this to this victim. But the reason the civil trial was delayed is because they found evidence that proves brass at NOPD knew that he was inappropriately involved with a minor, and they're going to present that. So, and also I want to give props to the judge, man, because they originally tried to sentence him to 7 years, and the judge was like, nah, that's not enough for me. Y'all gonna have to go back and try again. And they wound up and came back with 14 years. But as I said, he died the first day of this year. So be interesting to see what happens with this civil trial.
They gonna get that money, which they should. Take all of it. All I got, man, is we talked a lot about sports and everything. I want to say go Blazers. They are in the AAC championship for basketball that will be playing later on today. So hopefully when this drops, we will be the AAC champions for men's basketball. And that will give us a berth into the, March Madness NCAA tournament. So that's a big deal. It's our first year in the AAC, doing big things there. So shout out to you guys. And again, shout out to Haley. I think I talked about she got accepted into PT school, but she selected her school. She is going to be a Alabama State. Are they the Hornets? Right? Yeah, they're the Hornets. A&M is the Bulldogs. Yeah. So she'll be attending Alabama State University for physical therapy, get her doctorate in physical therapy. So good job, Haley. Proud of you, baby. Keep pushing as always. And that's it, man. That's all I got for closing out.
All right. I want to say I had a great week with my family. We got to celebrate spring break and enjoy each other. If you get a chance, do things for spring break with your kids. It doesn't have to cost a lot of money. It doesn't have to, but take time to pour into them. Plan. I'm trying to get better at planning. Just do things for the family. They really appreciate it. They can't wait to get back to school, which is weird, to tell their friends about the things they did for spring break. And I'm blessed enough, my wife and I are blessed enough to be able to take our kids on certain vacations and do certain things. So I'm not taking it lightly, but get out there. These are the things kids remember, because I remember not really doing anything and being that kid where I'm talking to my friends. They're going to Disney. They're going to wherever, they might just be going to what's the little theme park in Panama City from back in the day. They be going anywhere. They can go to Pensacola Beach,
USA.
Just whatever it was. Just find something to do for your kids. If possible, take that day off. Take 2 days off. Do something special for them if you can. That's it. Three Brothers No Sense, your favorite barbershop style podcast. 6 Rules of Podcast. Listen, like, share, subscribe, comment, and most importantly, listen again. Talk to you next week.